I want to also understand your tagline for the book, if I may say so, is energy pivot, which we've kind of touched upon a little bit, adaptive moves, and winning bounce, with BOU in capitals and CE in capitals, right? So can you elaborate on that tagline also?
So if we start talking about VUCA, we're just scanning the environment. And I think many excellent work has been done on what VUCA is all about. Yeah. What's probably needed as far as a manager is concerned, after reading all this excellent work that has been published, is to say, well, okay, now you tell me that the world is volatile. I already know that. You tell me that I'm making decisions on the basis of uncertain markets. Yes, I already know that. Well, consequences, it makes my life complex. Yes, I already know that. Yeah. And then whatever I do would lead to something which is ambiguous, which means unlike NPV or IRR, my environment does not depend on a number that says it's a positive number, I go ahead, but rather it's ambiguous. It could be negative, it could be a big number, it could be a small number. And if it's a big number, it does make a difference, and I want to understand why it's a big number. I mean, it's a small number, I want to understand why it is a small number and why I don't need to worry about it. Or maybe I'm wrong about it and underestimated the magnitude of the effects. Yeah, so this is where dynamic decisions pick up from where VUCA left off. Yeah, so we first need to know what we're dealing with. Yeah, when we need to know what we're dealing with, that gives you the two contexts for that knowledge. One is what you're doing, what you're dealing with as a firm. And in chapter 2, you're talking about what the policymaker is doing. Yeah, because what's important about the policymaker's actions is if a policymaker wants to impose a tax on renewable energy, or rather on fossil fuel, then it may favor some renewable energy. Yeah. So that means the action of the policymaker is not something which is isolated from the life of a manager. In fact, it's something you need to know about. Yeah. The adaptive moves then become a question of the framing of the problem that you're trying to deal with. Yeah. So oftentimes we talk about this is the strategy that we want to pursue, and because the strategy that we want to pursue is based on certain knowledge that we assume is already known, as is going to be the case going forward, yeah, then it becomes a straight line approach to problem solving. Yeah, and a straight line approach to problem solving is say, know the problem, know the alternatives, and these are the solutions, and pick the solutions that best gives you the outcome. And the problem with that is we say, well, what happens if the assumptions turn out to be wrong or the markets has changed? Because as it so happens, you're not dealing with a tree, just like a woodcutter, but you're dealing with people who would actually respond or react. And these are people who may want to collaborate with you, wants to cooperate or support your actions, or these are people who may want to oppose you. Yeah. So the framing has to be done on the basis of understanding why you're doing the things you aim to do, and that is articulating a purpose. Yeah, so that gives us the first letter, yeah, in the pivot, which is P. Yeah. But in articulating a purpose, we need to inform that with our insights. Yeah, and our insights could be a function of what our own inclination is as a person, what our risk aversion is, or what our risk appetite is. Yeah. And comes the flexibility that we talk about managers changing decisions or changing course when the market conditions change. And that's a V, as in victory. Yeah. You veer away from situations which could give adverse consequences, or you veer away from a path of action that would actually lead to some losses. Yeah. And then you move into the O and the T, which is really just this is where the operational aspect of the decision making, yeah, and knowing what you're really setting out to do based on the outlook that you have as a person, as an individual, as a business, then you take action to de-risk. So that is the first part of the framing of a strategy. Yeah, yeah. So, and this is where the calibration of the risk, the calibration of the opportunity could already be implemented on a pilot scale. Now, once you've experimented on some pilot projects, then you get additional information. Yeah. And once you know what works and what doesn't work, then that's where the next stage comes in. You can already scale up. You can already scale up the things that work. You can already inject some of the flexibility into the system. And that is where the bounce to win comes in. And I will not elaborate too much on the bounce to win because we can deal with that in a month's time. Yeah? Now, combining the framing and the scaling, yeah, this is the point where we start moving into the transformational aspect of the firm and society. And that is a time when managers actually act to reconfigure and to introduce the innovation that one would like to introduce. Yeah? So that brings us to the decarbonization and the digitalization opportunity that Anjan has mentioned about. Yeah.